Hello, everyone. Welcome to In the Neighborhood with your hosts, Tim Johnson and Stacy Borho. Together, they are finding out what makes the heart of the Heartland beat. They sit down with people in your community that lead organizations, businesses, and government. You'll learn who they are and what they're involved in and why. They are the people in your neighborhood. It's In the Neighborhood with Stacy Borho and Tim Johnson.
Hi everybody, my name's Tim Johnson and this is
Stacy Borho.
Hi Stacy, how you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
Doing all right. So, what you been up to?
Causing trouble like usual. I mean, if you want to know, I jumped out of a plane on Saturday. The video's out on Facebook.
You did?
I did, I went skydiving.
I did not see that.
Oh, it's so cool. It was my second time.
I don't know.
Yeah, I hear that all the time. It's amazing.
Wow.
There was some guy who celebrated his 6,000th jump this weekend. I was like, wow, that's a lot. That just shows you how safe it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you've done the hover thing where you skydive.
Oh, the iFly.
iFly.
Yeah, the simulator.
You skydive in a little tube, basically.
You're more like just floating on air.
Yeah. Well,
It's
that's
not quite
that's
the
more
same.
my
It's a lot
street.
safer.
Awesome. So we are in the neighborhood. We are a now non-for-profit or aiming
That's
for
right.
a non-for-profit, trying to build or get people inspired to volunteer and be a part of our community.
That's right. Connecting people with their volunteering vision.
Awesome. And today we have Ryan Lacerna and Rebecca Christensen of CASA.
Yes.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What is CASA?
Well, CASA, let me ask you this. Do you know what CASA stands for?
Court-appointed something.
Special advocate
There
for
we
children.
go.
Stacy was a CASA person.
That's right.
That's right. So CASA, or Court-Appointed Special Advocates, essentially we're court monitors for kids involved with the juvenile abuse and neglect court system. Our volunteers are members of the community who we recruit and train, and then we supervise them when they're assigned to a case involving a child involved with the foster care system and the court system.
Because there's how many kids in the court systems right now?
Oh, I think the last number that we had is somewhere near 1,100, I believe 1,097 kids in just Peoria County.
That's what I was just going to clarify too. Yeah, 1,100 in Peoria County alone.
Being an advocate is the main heart of it, right?
That's right, yeah. So our volunteers, they go through a pretty comprehensive training. It's a 30-hour training. It's a national curriculum developed by National CASA, and it'll teach you everything you need to know, or at least a foundation for, things involving the juvenile court system, interpersonal communication. We try to teach our volunteers to be trauma-informed. We touch on topics like resiliency and child development. So it's a pretty intense training that they go through. It's over a 2-week period. But once they complete that training, they go through a swearing-in ceremony where they're sworn in by the juvenile judge in whatever jurisdiction as an officer of the court with all the rights and privileges to work on a abuse and neglect case. So.
That's a lot. So how many cases does one volunteer typically have at a time? Well,
That's the great thing about CASA. If you know anything about the child welfare system, social work agencies, caseworkers, a caseworker may have 12 families that they're working with, and trying to go to their homes, interview the parents, meet with the children. That's quite a lot. The beauty of CASA is that our volunteers are only assigned to one child or one sibling group. 2 if they're comfortable handling that, but we go no more than 2 families.
Yeah. So what, do you guys have some training coming up then?
We do. Our training, we typically have them quarterly, and the next one we have coming up is in Peoria at the Advanced Medical Transport, and I believe it starts October 13th.
Okay.
It'll be, again, over that 2-week period, and we try to schedule it, for people who are still working full-time or teachers, and, our volunteers come from all walks of life. Doctors, other medical professionals, teachers, engineers from Caterpillar, retirees, so we've got a pretty good mix in our volunteer base.
Yeah.
So why do these kids need advocates?
Well, the child welfare system can be tricky sometimes. And if you think about the children that we work with, it's a pretty traumatic experience. Think about being, removed from your home in the middle of the night with nothing what we like to call a garbage bag suitcase with a toy, some clothes. You're taken to a stranger's home with people who you don't know and that are now taking care of you. So the whole experience of being involved with foster care, that can be traumatizing to the child. And research shows that that leads to problems later on in life when they go into adulthood. So there's definitely a need for getting these kids to a safe and permanent home as quickly as possible. To have that one loving, consistent family, and that's where CASA can help facilitate that. The court system, I will say there are people involved with it who have a great heart, for what they do. They care deeply, but sometimes things can take a while. The process does not happen overnight. So when you have a child who's removed from their home for such a long period of time, not knowing what their future may hold, our program seeks to stabilize them quickly. We collaborate with DCFS, private agencies. We work with the courts primarily. That's sort of our wheelhouse, is writing court reports, attending court, so that the decision makers in the courtroom, the judge, the attorneys, they have the best possible information to make these important decisions in a child's life.
And I might add that oftentimes a child, in most cases, a child might go through 4 or 5 different caseworkers in the life of their case. Sometimes the judges change every year, so we aim to be the voice of continuity for the child as well. So we ask our volunteers to commit to at least a 2-year service to the child so that we can be the one voice of continuity for the child as well.
So do you need to know law or anything like that to be?
No, we teach you all that in our training. So, and like I said, that training is just the foundation. Like Becky had mentioned, that 2 years, you'll learn a lot in that experience. Not only will you learn a lot about the system and how things work, is that you'll develop a relationship with these kids and with these families that we work with. So, being that consistent person in their life. First of all, there's research out there that'll tell you for a child, when they can have at least one consistent caring adult in their life, that can lead to success later on. But having a CASA consistent when they're involved with the foster care system, our court reports, we have information in there that sometimes, we're the only people who will have that information, just because we have that rapport, we have that relationship, we have that narrative of the family, of the child. So that's why our reports are pretty important to the court. Something unique about our report too is that in what we submit, there's a little section at the bottom that says child's wishes. And for me, and some of our volunteers will tell you that's a pretty powerful section, because in that section, if it's appropriate, if a child says, I want a unicorn for Christmas, we're not going to put that in there. But if they say, I want to go home to my mom or dad, or I don't want to go home to my parents because I feel safe, we'll put that in there verbatim or try to paraphrase that as best as possible, in if it's in their best interest. So.
And also, as far as your question about if you needed to have any legal knowledge, we train you and then we don't leave you hanging. We also assign you with an advocate supervisor, and that advocate supervisor is there to help you throughout the life of your case, or if you can't make a visit, they can go for you, or if you are intimidated by some place that you need to go, they're welcome, they will go with you. So we don't just leave an advocate hanging. You learn as you go, but you have training and ongoing support as well.
So are both of you advocates?
I am an advocate. I've been an advocate for almost 3 years. And I've had 1 case close, and I have 2 that are currently open, and 1 that I think will close very soon, and 1 that's a little more complicated.
So why did you get started in it?
My reasons were pretty basic. My daughter was in a sorority at University of Illinois, and this was their sorority philanthropy. And she got married, and my son went away to college, and I went through the usual empty nested stuff. And she was home, and there was an article in the Journal Star, and she said, "Mom, this is really what you need to do. This is what I've been telling you about." And so I did, and I haven't looked back. It's been pretty life-changing for me. For me, it gave me a sense of purpose once I was that old woman empty nester again, or not again, but for the first time. So it's
Give
been
us
great.
an example of what a volunteer would have to do, like with a case, like how that works.
Sure. Well, once they get sworn in as an officer of the court, right now we've got cases that are unassigned, waiting for volunteers.
Okay.
So once they take on a case, they accept, we tell them the basics, like this is, 3 siblings involved, they're placed here. Once they're okay with that information that we provide, then they get signed on to the case. There's an order written appointing them to the case, which is signed by the judge. And they'll meet with their supervisor to get briefed on all the details of the case. And once from that point on, they'll go to a foster home visit to first meet with the child. And from there, we tell our volunteers, you get in, or excuse me, you get out what you put in. So it's on their schedule how often they want to visit with the family, in what context they want to visit with the child. We tell them to go to the school, have lunch with them at school. We only ask that they make 1 face-to-face visit per month for a total of 5 activity hours. Now, that activity is the face-to-face visit. It's taking notes, it's driving to the visit, it's talking with CASA staff. So that 5 hours, you can come up with that pretty easily. And that once a month visit, that's not too hard either. We have volunteers who go weekly, sometimes multiple times a week, to meet with these kids, and that's really great, tremendous.
Because depending on the child, more often than not, kids want to go home, right?
Yes.
To their mom and dad.
And every case is unique, and I think
Absolutely.
you'll find that once you get into it, you find out what works for you and for the child and for the families. When to visit, how often to visit.
So those court reports, those take a long time. I'm sure that's a fear factor that some people have.
Yeah, so those court reports, those are written in preparation for 6-month permanency review hearings that we also attend. So it's a 6-month reporting period, which includes, all your information. So yeah, that does take a good amount of time to, include all of that information that you've accumulated in that time frame.
We do try to make it as simple as possible. We have some data tracking software that allows the advocate to input their information right away, keep track of it. They don't have to do anything special to keep track of it, and then to print it out and consolidate it into the report. So it's as difficult as you make it. If you're a procrastinator, it's going to be pretty tough, but you try not to be. So.
It's really just like journaling is
Yeah,
what I
yes.
remember. So as long as you can journal and take
Yes.
good notes, all you're doing is stating facts. So it's
Exactly.
you don't have to be a court reporter.
No, exactly.
It wasn't complicated.
No, it's not
It's pretty
complicated.
simple, actually. It's just sitting down and making a journal of all that you did.
Exactly.
Yeah, so awesome.
So how are funds taken care of? How do you guys raise funds, those types of things?
Well, a lot of our funds come through grants that we receive, but a big chunk of our money comes from special events that we have. We have our 4 core ones every year, our biggest one being Casablanca, Dancing with the Local Stars, and that's an awesome event. I've been to the last 2. This last one in 2017, we had around 800 attendees, and we raised, I think, a little over $300,000.
Wow.
So, yeah, the community is generous. Yeah.
We also do the hole-in-one and a hole-in-one tournament that's
Yep.
coming up next week.
Hole-in-one golf tournaments.
Casa Caballos.
Yeah, tailgating at a polo match at the Weaver Angus Farms.
And we're doing a new one next spring called Sip, Savor, and Smoke.
Yes.
I can't really tell you the details because I don't know them.
It's for our whiskey and cigar aficionados.
Yeah, there you go. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Where can they find more information on those?
Well, they can go to our Facebook page. We're pretty active on our Facebook page. Our website, casapeoria.org. You can find out information there. If you just Google CASA, give us a phone call, ask for Ryan or Becky. We can talk to you about whatever you want about becoming a volunteer, about donating, about attending one of our special events, you name it. So.
Or volunteer opportunities. If you don't want to be a CASA, there's other opportunities to help with the fundraisers or in the office or all kinds of things.
Yeah, because you guys are mostly run by volunteers, right?
We are, it was, originally CASA was started by Pam Perlis, who's our executive director, as a one-woman operation, but she's now grown it to 13 employees, 11 full-time and 2 part-time.
Wow.
So the rest are volunteers.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're still a pretty small operation, but like you said, our volunteers, it's a pretty strong base. I think we have something like
We have 142 advocates currently.
active
Wow,
volunteers,
nice
working in the
job.
community.
Right.
That's
And we
very
are
cool.
actively looking for more, actively recruiting more. So, and our next training, if I could mention, is in October. The first Saturday is October 13th, and we'd love to get people going in that.
And how long is that training?
It's over a period of 2 weeks, 2
Okay.
Saturdays and 5 evenings from 5:30 to 9.
Okay. Not too complicated.
It's not like you have to jump out of a plane or something.
I think you should try it.
Both of them? You'd have to push me out of the plane, I'm telling you. No, it's good. We've talked before, for my family history of being, having foster kids, and I've seen that side of it and how detrimental, how scary that those times can be. And having at least somebody in your life that's consistent, or in their life that's consistent, is pretty impactful. You've got to see that in their lives too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you get kind of close to the kids if you choose to. I mean, and I think sometimes people are afraid of the emotional aspect of this, and I'm not going to say that it's an easy thing, but it's a very rewarding opportunity, and it's a great way to be a part of somebody's life that you wouldn't ordinarily know.
Yeah. Be a voice for the kids.
Yes, absolutely.
That's really cool. Well, thanks so much. We're here with Ryan Lacerna and Rebecca Christensen of CASA, court-appointed special advocate.
You got it.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Good job.
I'm not very good at those. But, you can find us on PeoriaLife.com. You can find us on Peoria TV, which is channel 7 or 17 on i3 Broadband. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Facebook at Peoria Life or In the Neighborhood, and on WPEO Radio. So thanks so much for listening today, and thank you guys so much for being a part today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Before we go, what is the best website for people to find more information about you?
It's casapeoria.org, or they can go to our Facebook page, which is also Casa Peoria County.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
'Cause we don't wanna grow. We just wanna be